What's going on, Magic fans? Welcome to another episode of The Close Up. I'm your host, Stephen Cameron, part of the Orlando Magic HQ network. Psyched to be talking to you guys on a Sunday night. I recorded this podcast November 24th, pretty late. So realistically, when you guys hear this, it's Monday. And I got Adam Papageorgiou, a longtime friend of mine from the Magic community. We've been interacting and talking Magic basketball for many years. He used to be, if you're not familiar with him, he used to be a credentialed media member at his own site that he followed and covered the basketball with. Yeah, just a really smart, fun person, diehard Magic fan. And we have a good conversation. So we talk a lot about, obviously, the Magic's recent play and kind of like their upcoming schedule with the dynamics that could come into play with that. We also talk about how the Magic got flexed back into their national TV game versus the Knicks on TNT. And then we go pretty deep about the NBA in-season tournament, Emirates Cup. And we talk about how the Magic are positioned, different aspects about the cup, the courts, the rules, and kind of how certain things have to play out for the Magic to get, to host a quarterfinals game and then to get to the semis and possibly even get to the finals in Las Vegas. So we're pretty excited about this. Adam and I are both big believers in the in-season tournament. We've both been to games, group play games. I'm pretty sure he's going to try to go to a group play game in the next week or two. I'm going to a group play game later this coming week on Friday. So it's a big deal. These games are a lot of fun. If you haven't gone to one, I hope you do. And yeah, so Adam's great. He's the guest this week. I hope you all stay for the conversation there. Before we get into that, I want to shout out our sponsors and supporters of this show. We're part of the Believe Podcast Network, and Believe hooks us up with really cool sponsors like BetOnline. BetOnline is the world's most trusted betting platform and your number one source for everything sports betting. Every stat, matchup breakdown, and even live odds and spreads to bet on during games. With the largest catalog of odds on everything from football, MLB playoffs, NHL, NBA, to political props, you can bet on just about everything. I don't mess around with too much anything else other than NBA basketball. That's where I play. I do a lot of prop betting. I'll look at certain players like Tristan Da Silva gets a 0.5 often for a three-pointer, and he's been starting playing 32 minutes. I smash the over on that almost every time, and it hits almost every single time. I won a bet the other day. Unfortunately, I smashed the under on Contavious Caldwell-Pope's threes. Not because I don't believe he's going to get his three-pointer back, but he had just had a baby like the day or two before, probably a bit sleep deprived, kind of already having a rocky start to the season. I won that bet. It was tied to like four others, but it was a good bet. So anyways, when the game's over, head over to the online casino, get in on a game of blackjack or poker, or unwind with one over 150 slot games. It's a lot of fun. Head over to the website today, get in on the action with America's most trusted site for online wagering. BetOnline, the game starts here. Another person that we want to talk about is a good friend of ours, Brandon Kravitz. He's someone that really supports us. We really support him. We do a lot of really cool things together on the back end, some stuff that's coming up that we can't wait to share and tell everyone about. But catch Brandon Kravitz on In the Zone 5 days a week, talking about all the hottest sports topics in Orlando and beyond, live on 96.9 The Game and iHeartRadio. A lot of buzz with the MLS and female soccer team going on right now. Female soccer team, shout out to them. They just won the championship. The men's team, they're going to the semifinals. So there's a lot of excitement right now. Obviously, the Magic are super hot. So if you want more exciting coverage, just check out Brandon Kravitz. He's covering it all. Also, if you're looking for more coverage on the Magic, Brandon is hosting an extension of his show on game days. It's In the Zone Magic or Game Day Magic from 6 to 6:30 p.m. every weekday that the Magic play a game. Those segments are great. Brandon does a great job of talking about what's happening on those games versus the opponent that's coming in. They're perfect pregame radio shows for you to turn into and get all the information you need. If that's not enough, catch bonus content and exclusive interviews about the Magic, sports betting, fantasy, and more on the Zone Heads podcast. Download and subscribe wherever you are listening to this now. Also, make sure you're liking and subscribing this show. I know tons of you are listening and watching and not doing that. Please do that. And also check out our Patreon program. It's live, it's running, and it's thriving. We got so many really cool things that you can benefit from joining our Patreon program. The link's in the description. All right, I've rambled enough. Let's get to this conversation with Adam Papageorgiou. Like I said, everyone, we got Adam Papageorgiou of the Penny and Pop podcast, old Orlando Magic blog. What was the name of that? I forgot. Was it the Orlando Magic?
MagicBasketballOnline.com.
MagicBasketballOnline.com for any of you guys who were following it back in the day. Adam, it's an exciting time in Orlando sports right now. How are you doing tonight?
Doing great. A few hours ago, I got back home from the Orlando City match. We beat Atlanta 1-0 in the conference semifinals. Orlando City now gets to play in their first ever conference finals, which they'll host.
That's exciting.
New York Red Bulls on Saturday. So that's it's great times. And then obviously, day before, Orlando Pride they won the NWSL championship to complete a historic double where they also won the Shield. And it's very insane because the Pride have literally never been good, ever, even come close to good. There's been it's been rough. They've been very bad. And the fact that now they literally it's not even arguably, I think literally they had like the most historic best season in WSL history. So there you go. And it's the first technically major for Orlando. Major pro sports championship in Orlando history. Like I've been there for Solar Bears ice hockey stuff. I've been there for Predators arena football stuff. There's been a few other titles in other small minor leagues, but this is the actual first major sports pro title in Orlando history.
The Orlando doesn't have a long history of like major sports teams. Like the Magic was the longest running one.
Yeah.
Then you have, the WNBA Miracle team for 4 years, but they were pretty awful. I think they made the playoffs once and didn't get out of the first round.
Yeah, it didn't go great.
Yeah, and then we've had these MLS and the
NWSL. Yeah,
I meant WSL. Thank you. They've been in Orlando for 12, 13 years now, something like that.
Yeah, in Orlando City, they didn't become an MLS team till 2015. So
right.
Yeah,
that's right. They were
minor league. They were USL Pro and stuff for 5 years. So it's still a young history if you look at across the US.
It is. That's exciting. Are you going to go to the parade?
I don't think I'm going to maybe make it because I think that parade's at like 4:30, and I'll still probably be working. But for those that are available in the Orlando area, support the ladies, support the Orlando Pride. Go to the parade in downtown Orlando because we do not get a lot of sports parades in downtown.
This is the first. It's the first, so let's get it. Adam, outside of all the other exciting things that have been going on, the Magic are also absolutely crushing it right now. They've won 8 out of the last 9 games. They're undefeated at home. Franz is playing like an all-star, got player of the week, might even get player of the month. I mean, he should at least be in the conversation for it. I can't think of too many other guys in the East
that will get nominated. You know how the league sends out those tweets with who wins the awards, and then you'll see the communications folks, they'll send out the tweet that shows all the guys that got nominated. At a minimum, he's going to get nominated.
He deserves that for sure. How you feeling about the team so far, man? Like we've had a nice start, then we had a really awful in the middle, and now we're kind of finding our groove again. How are you feeling right now? I know you were on the West Coast, got to see a couple of games of that road trip live. One of the games like closer than most people ever get to see a game. So how are you just feeling about this team right now, Adam?
Very awesome. Amazing, honestly, because I predicted this team would go 15-32 at the start of the season, and I do my game-by-game predictions, and the Magic are actually performing a game better than even that.
That's awesome.
Yeah, and I mean, look, we went 3-1. I was at Paolo's 50-point game, and then the next game he gets hurt in Chicago. We lose 5 straight. And then we just turn it around with, it's funny how some fans outside of Orlando will kind of say, oh, like you've played nobody, you've had a pretty easy schedule. Well, you still got to win those games.
Got to win the games. Good
like,
teams beat bad teams.
If you look at how the Magic did last season, they overall performed very well against teams they should have beat. And guess what? That's how they ended up in a top six seed situation. And you had the stumbling blocks where at the very beginning of the trip to lose Paolo, and they're kind of scrambling for 2-3 games. And you could see even at the end where they could have won, beating the Pacers at the end of that trip in Indiana, that they were starting to figure out life without Paolo. And they got back home, they got some rest, they got some practices, and just they reacclimated and figured it out. And they're doing great, man. I honestly can't complain. I mean, we're 11-7. We're the third seed in the East, and I can't complain. I was fortunate enough to be on the West Coast to see the Magic beat the Suns in Phoenix. I was courtside for that, like courtside. I've never been courtside for an NBA game ever, even when I was media. I recommend folks do it if you find an affordable price to do it. There's opportunities out there, especially away from Orlando, because to go to Orlando, to go to a Magic courtside game, you're not going to find a bargain, especially now that we're good.
No, it's tough.
So if you are on the road and you want to see the Magic on the road, and you're going up you're in a situation where maybe the team's either got stars missing or maybe they're just not a great opponent, see if you can get an affordable ticket and do it, because it's fun. It's worth it to do it at least once in your life. And then, I didn't get so lucky on the second game where we lost to the Clippers in the new Intuit Dome. That was a tough game. From the beginning, well, I can't even say that, because the Magic with that Clipper game, I mean, they were only down, 4 at halftime or 3 at halftime, and you just felt like they could turn it on in the third with their defense. It didn't happen. And then we got the surprise the next night after that, where we beat the Lakers in crypto. So I mean, they're doing great, man. They're 11-7, considering we've got a couple guys missing. Paolo, specifically our best player. I can't ask for much more. I really can't.
Yeah, they've really turned it up. Like you were mentioning, they've beaten the teams they've beaten bad teams, and that's what good teams do. You're supposed to you can't control the schedule in front of you. Yeah, when Paolo goes down, they're playing some of the best teams in the league. The Cavaliers, they've lost one game. The Thunder, they're at the top of the West right now. 1 or 2 up in the West. Mavericks, they started the season well. They're kind of figuring some things out right now, but they got Luka and Kyrie and Derek Lively. Like that's a squad that they got going on. So
Dallas is weird. Dallas lost to Miami in overtime today. I was like, what are you doing? So yeah,
seems like there's something going on over there they got to figure out.
I mean, Luka's not really healthy.
Yeah.
I don't know if he's going to get healthy until he misses games, but yeah.
Well, unfortunately they were too healthy the day we played them, and we were too injured. But
yeah,
what else is crazy too is we're doing all this without Wendell Carter Jr. too. I mean, Goga's played really, really well, but Wendell is also, a really good part to this team. And, the team went through training camp with anticipation of him being the starter as well. We beat the Lakers. The Magic beat the Lakers with also not having KCP, who we all know his shot's not falling, but his defense has been, really well for the most part. It's to beat the Lakers, who are a top 5, top 6 team in offense, missing 3 starters, in my opinion, is and Franz having that step back 3 moment to just close it up. It's just story. You couldn't write a story better than that, in my opinion. It's just kind of wild. How do you think, real quick, you mentioned it on your podcast the other day, some thoughts on KCP. I just want to hear you. I want to talk through some of that. What are your thoughts with KCP right now?
So Kenny's playing hurt. That's for sure. There's definitely some going on. Look, I would say even the second or third game of the season, something didn't look right with him. And I mean, he's got the wrap on the one leg, but I mean, the biggest play was, late in the Suns game in that fourth, where you had that loose ball where it looks like Kenny's should have grabbed the ball and gotten an uncontested layup on the other end. Instead, you got Josh Okogie, who, look, Josh Okogie's pretty quick, but he's not the fastest guy in the league.
Yeah,
just speeds by him and gets his hands on the ball. Thankfully, it deflected off of Okogie, and the Magic still maintained possession. But at that moment, like, Kenny's not an old guy. He's 31. He's technically we'll call it the tail end of his prime, we'll call it. And obviously the struggles with the three-point shot are a problem, but it seems like from a health perspective, Kenny is just focusing whatever abilities physically he has defensively, and everything else he's kind of just handing it off to everybody else. Because, I mean, we haven't had much offensive help from him, and especially when in those first games without Paolo, like, we really needed guys like Kenny to step up, and it didn't happen. And it hasn't really happened. And I mean, Kenny's been hovering around what, 23%,
something like that,
24% shooting.
He had a
threes,
3-game stretch of 38%, and then it went back to bad.
And he just had a birth of another child, and he missed a game. But even even in the game yesterday against the Pistons, it was kind of the same with him. Where, I mean, if you look at his percentages, his 2-point percentage is fine. He's shooting like 55, 56%.
Yeah, it's just the three.
The three is just a nightmare. And he's making the right passes. He's not trying to overextend himself offensively.
He's a better passer than I realized too.
Yeah, I mean, it's funny what simple passes can do. I mean, you look at a lot of guys on the team that are sharing the ball, like Tristan Da Silva, who I consider him a better passer than Kenny, but a lot of it's just simple passes, just moving the rock, and you'll look like a decent, a competent passer if you just do a simple pass.
For me, it's more so where the pass lands with the receiver. It's always in the pocket, right?
Yeah.
It's always in the pocket. He's not making the craziest passes in the world, but when he passes it, it's not at their knees. It's not at off to the right or to the left. It's always right where it needs to be for them to make, the play, which that's why I like his passing so much compared to some of the passes he receives that are at his knees and ankles.
Yeah, but you're right. I mean, it's a big deal. And look, our 3-point percentage hasn't shown it as a team, but
it's not great.
Kenny's making awesome passes. He is. He's putting them right in the right spot. Yeah, him. And I mean, now we got to worry about Jalen health-wise, where
he's not on the injury report for tomorrow, but he's still feeling it.
Yeah, I mean, leg injuries, those things, they just last a long time until either you miss extended time or you get like an all-star break. And it's going to be one of those where, I mean, even Jalen last season, even though he played a whole bunch and he had a great season, a lot of those games, like, he's not moving great, but he makes it worse. Like, and I get it. In an 82 game NBA season, like, no guy's really truly healthy by the end of it. But in this case, like with guys like Jalen and with Kenny, like, it shows. And I grimace sometimes seeing how they make certain movements and stuff. So
I was a bit surprised. So listeners, we're recording this on Sunday night, November 24th. As Adam said, the Magic played the Pistons the game before. Tomorrow they're playing the Hornets. I was surprised they had already they already had Jalen off the injury report today, and they didn't just wait to see how he was feeling the next day. Like, even just put him as questionable. It's like, unless whatever happened to his thigh yesterday, or his thigh, right? His hamstring. Yeah, it was his hamstring. You're right. Unless whatever that was just like a muscle cramp or something like that, then a hamstring doesn't heal overnight, and like that. It's unless it was just cramping up or something like that.
Yeah, I mean, the interesting thing was he was doubtful to return to the game, and he just never returned. So, because usually it's pretty point blank and simple, where it's you're either out or available to come back, or sometimes on rare occasion you get questionable. I almost never see doubtful when it comes to guys coming back. So maybe Arnie Kander did some good massage magic to that hamstring, and he's good. That's all it took.
Yeah, we'll see. I just hope he doesn't. He doesn't try and force. If he's not on the injury list, I hope it's because he's truly good to go, and not because he's just trying to like play through something so we can continue this run. Because last thing we need is another player that's going to be out for multiple games long term because they're not taking care of it right now. So with all that being said, currently the Magic are 11-7, third in the East. They have a little bit of a cushion right now. The Knicks are 9-7. The Heat are 7-7.
Yeah, we have our fifth East team that's 500 finally.
Yeah. There's a few.
Milwaukee's gonna get there real quick too. They're 8-9.
Starting to figure their stuff out. It's wild the amount of games the Magic have played more than other teams. Like we've played 3 games more than the Knicks and 5 games more than the Heat. It's kind of wild to an extent, but Magic did have one of the hardest schedules to start the season. Now they actually have one of the easiest remaining schedules according to Tankathons, like however they rank the scheduling. So I'm looking forward to, seeing Franz continue to we look at the Hornets right now, they're super beat up. They're missing, they have an injury report longer than the Magic's right now. But
LaMelo did just have a 50-point game.
And
they did lose to the Bucks. They lost to the Bucks, this is a fun stretch, right? Because now you're going up against these teams. We're at Charlotte. We're going to be hosting the Bulls, and then you have like the fun Northeast stretch where it's like back-to-back Brooklyn games, one of them being a cup game, where those 3 teams could all theoretically be in the play-in, all of them. And so these were the games last season where we were winning a good portion of them. Charlotte we've already beaten in an NBA Cup game.
Yep.
Chicago, we lost to the Bulls in Chicago, and if we didn't have the Trent Tucker rule, that Paolo could have won that game really, but. So we'll see how that pans out. And then Brooklyn, even though we beat them here in Orlando, like they were very feisty, and all 3 of those teams are like 7-10. Like they're all like right there in that range where they're not bad, they're not great, but they can beat us on any given night, especially when we're dealing with not having our best player.
Teams can't sleep versus the Nets and versus the Bulls. The Bulls particularly, they've beaten some good teams. Charlotte too, like these are just teams that they all have good players right now, and it's you think about the Nets, it's like, well, who do they have? Cam Thomas, but they have a bunch of really good role players that play hard. The Bulls, something's clicking with Vooch and Levine right now. Those guys are playing very good basketball, and like you mentioned, the Hornets have LaMelo and Brandon Miller, and they're playing pretty good. But you had mentioned the Cups, and this is why I initially asked you to come on to the podcast. Well, I mean, you come on every season, but I love the Cup. I love the in-season tournament. I know you do too, I think for the most part. I went to a Cup game last year. I went to the group play game when the Raptors were in town, and it was one of the more fun games I had been to in a very long time. And I'm going to another group play game, not even a Magic one. I'm going to Oregon for Thanksgiving later this week, and on Friday I'm going to the Blazers versus Sacramento Kings group play game in Portland. So just because these group play games are really, really fun. Before we get into the specifics about the Magic and how that's all playing out and what we're thinking and feeling like that, I want to back it up, going back to the offseason when they, had potential opportunities to change some things with what they learned the first year. Were you surprised to see them kind of just like run it back without making really any changes? Or were you hoping that there was something a little bit that they might tweak here and there? Or did you just like it as is and just wanted to see another year of data with it? Kind of just like, what were you feeling when we didn't see anything different?
Well, the biggest change they made was they made a lot of the courts better. So our eyes benefited from that. But no, from a format perspective, I mean, it worked, right? So the whole purpose of the NBA Cup is to make, at this point, regular season games matter more before Christmas.
Right.
And it feels like last year that was accomplished. You had a Lakers-Pacers finals where, the Lakers won. They got banner or whatever. Although they didn't want to put a banner first, and then Adam Silver forced the Lakers to put a banner up.
Adam Sandler might have also forced him too.
He might have too, but Silver forced them to put a banner up. But I'm okay with it. Look, ideally, because internationally across the globe with these cup games, they're completely separate from an actual NBA season. Like they're their own entities. In this case, that's not the situation. Like with all these group play games, they all still matter for your regular season record. So, but I get it. It's going to take at least a few more years for the NBA Cup to pick up before you can really even think about making it a separate entity. And now there's stuff being discussed about how they want to do it now later on in the season, before or around the All-Star break, which I think defeats the purpose, because again, you're trying to put eyes on the league before Christmas. And I personally think it's helping. I wouldn't put all the focus and onus on looking at like ratings. We know that there's a lot of NBA fans that watch league games in the not most legal fashion out there.
Yeah.
And I wouldn't factor the ratings into deciding what's necessarily successful, because I feel like there's a buzz. Like, people care about NBA Cup games, and
I think so too. It seems to have been picked up more. Even I feel like I'm hearing about it more this year in a positive way from people than I have in years past. And granted, I'm 35, married with a child, so I'm not like super deep into the community outside of like who I talk to online and the podcasts that I listen to. But I feel like I'm hearing more positivity being talked about it, even from some skeptics from years prior. And I think they're doing a really good job. Some of the courts are obnoxiously bad. Like the Celtics one is like that neon yellow. I think the Bulls are like super bright. I think my eyes appreciate like ours and Golden State's, where it's like brighter borders with kind of a softer, like grayish, more neutral tone in the center. I think that's the formula, right? You can still tell that the court is different without killing us with like these neon colors.
Yeah, they fix the paint, like for the Magic too. Like Magic, like they have like the nice Magic blue in the middle, and they have like these cool little circular stars and stuff. So they improved it. I think for that. The Celtics one, I saw that at a restaurant in LA for the Celtics Cavs one, and that might actually be the worst one now, which is an upgrade because we don't have to deal with a whole bunch of two ridiculous red ones like we did last year. Like, remember when we played in Chicago? I thought like we had murdered like a bunch of people.
So bad.
But yeah, I mean, I think we're actually on the 1 year anniversary where I was at the Cup game last year where the Magic beat the Celtics, which ended up being a pretty big win throughout the entire season, was us beating the Celtics. And the other good thing now about this year is more teams are more cognizant of point differential, which did not happen like the first game of two. Like the Magic, they lost in Brooklyn by 20, when had they really cared about point differential, it might have been like half that deficit. And as we saw because we didn't get to play on the final night because we played all our games, the Celtics knew exactly what they needed from a point differential perspective to prevail and take the group. So that's still one of the faults with the NBA Cup play, is that it's impossible to have all the teams in the same group play at the same time, because you have uneven teams. You have odd teams. You have 5 teams per group. So that's something that maybe when the league gets to 32 teams, you fix that. But
I would think so.
But that's one of those where that's like a nitpick thing. But see, with the Magic, at least that's not a problem this season, because this season, they'll be playing the Knicks in that final game, likely determining who's going to win the group, or both teams could end up progressing to the quarterfinals.
What's exciting is, like, one, the Magic are already off to a good start with this group, the Group A that they're in. They have the highest point differential right now, so if there's any tiebreakers, that's something that's going in their favor. They're at a plus 37 right now. New York is the only team that also is 2-0 in group play so far, and they have a plus 14 differential. Everyone else has losses. Philadelphia has played 3 group play games. They're 1-2. Brooklyn, same with them.
Yeah.
These guys are all out. So
if you have two losses, you're out, basically.
And that's everyone in our group. Everyone other than
the Knicks,
New York and the Magic have 2 losses. The Charlotte has only they have 2 losses. They haven't won anything. Yeah. So it's coming down to Orlando and New York, and and I think it's shown that game is going to be really important because, like, one, it just got flexed back into the TNT slot today, like an hour ago, when they had taken it away like 2 weeks ago when Paulo first went down, which, I know a lot of Magic fans were pretty upset about that. And I was too, but like from a perspective of this team just lost the only player that most people care about, and they look like crap on this since he went down because they canceled it in the middle of the road trip. Like, I'm not going to say I agree with it, but I could sort of understand, like, hey, let's see if we can find something that's going to draw more views. But what I love is not only did they take it away, but they gave it right back to the Magic. Like, obviously, Franz has made so much noise with his play as of late. He's averaging like 28 points per game, in the last 10 games. It's kind of ridiculous. on good efficiency and pretty decent efficiency. I'm not gonna say good, but pretty decent. Like he's playing great and putting the league on notice. He's being talked about. Any podcast you turn on right now, or segment of media talking about the NBA, like Franz is getting brought up in most of them at this point in a very positive way, and sort of the Magic. So I thought it was pretty fun to see it get flexed back in, just the same game, that got taken away. Were you surprised to see that?
I am. I think there's a Twitter account. I think it's called like Sports Media Watch. They actually do a good job of tracking broadcasted games and stuff. And they put out a tweet that basically said that only like a handful of games in like this millennium have been flexed out and then flexed back in. Like you have to go back to like a couple years ago, like a COVID game involving, I think, the Pacers. And then you have to go back to like a Wizards Michael Jordan game. Like that's it. And so it is very rare to see a team, a game get flexed out and then get flexed back in. It's very rare. And look, they did the right thing because we got replaced by Dallas, Memphis, and Memphis already has 2 losses in the NBA Cup. Dallas has 1 loss. Luka may or may not even play in that game, and so you have these 2 undefeated Cup teams that are playing in Madison Square Garden to potentially determine who wins that group and who's going to maybe also get in potentially as the wild card for the quarterfinals. Like it's a no-brainer. There shouldn't be much more of incentive to show that game because everybody likes watching basketball games that happen at Madison Square Garden.
Yeah, it's gonna be a lot of fun. It's like that arena is on the bucket list for me, and the Knicks have so much. I mean, they're a good team this year. They made a lot of noise this summer to improve their roster. There's a lot of media hype around them right now. They get a lot of hype even when they suck. And right now they got Jalen Brunson, they have Cat, they have Bridges and OG Anunoby. Like they have, everyone knows they have one of the best starting fives once they continue to gel and figure things out in the entire league. So it's cool to see the Magic still holding up. I was a little nervous about the Philly game because I'm like, at some point this Philly team's going to figure it out. They just haven't.
No,
I thought it could have potentially been that game. And, they have another opportunity when they go play at Brooklyn on Friday, the 29th, the day after Thanksgiving, to kind of continue to solidify that they are real and a real threat to this, in this tournament. And I'm thinking it's, that's probably going to be another win. At least I hope so. It would kind of suck if it didn't. Hopefully no one's had too much turkey the day before. What happens if they lose that game?
With Brooklyn?
Yeah.
Potentially, you're still in it. You're still in it to win the group. You're still in it to progress. As long as we don't get like blown out by like 30 or 40 in Brooklyn. I mean, I know they beat us by 20 last year. I'm sure that'll be on the back of our guys' mind. I mean, look, again, Brooklyn played us pretty tough here in Orlando when we beat them. So we're not going to roll over for them. That's for sure. If you just go to that game, depending on what the Knicks do for their third game, because we don't know how they'll perform. They play the same night we do when we play in Brooklyn as well.
Who do they play?
I think it's Charlotte. I could be wrong.
I'll look it up
right now.
You'll
pull up, but yeah, I mean, you brought up Philly. Philly just lost again today to the only team that's beaten us in the past couple of weeks, the Clippers. The Clippers are also 11-7. So
yeah,
I mean, the Clippers are playing very well. They're figuring stuff out without Kawhi Leonard, the mess. They're 3-13. I mean, we talk about the Knicks, who, look, the big thing with the Knicks is they don't really have a true center. Like, I know Karl-Anthony Towns is playing center, but he is not a true center.
Right.
And we have a better record than the Knicks. The Knicks are 9-7. They had somehow they lost in Utah. Like, thank you, Lauri Markkanen. And like the Jazz beat them as the Knicks are in the middle of this pretty tough road trip. Like, they have games in Denver, in Dallas coming up. I think they finished their road trip in Charlotte.
And that's the cup game.
Okay,
group
so
play.
that is the cup game.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, the end of a tough road trip. I mean, Charlotte might do us a favor and beat the Knicks. So yeah, if even if the Magic lose in Brooklyn, it's still everything's up for grabs. That Madison Square Garden game.
Yeah, it's so hypothetically speaking, if we go into that game and the Knicks are 3-0 and the Magic are 2-1, it's still
if we beat them, I did we change the tiebreaker? That's the thing now. I can't remember.
I don't think the tiebreaker changed.
So then you just look at, I mean, if we beat them, then I think we take the group then.
Yeah,
I think that's what it comes down to.
I would think so too. How does the wild card work?
It's the best it's the best point differential of the second place teams in the group. So that's why I know the Magic have an awesome point differential right now, but if you look at like the other groups with Group B and C, like there's some good teams that have only played 2 games so far that it's very early to really look at scenarios right now. We're not going to know really till that next Tuesday game in Madison Square Garden what the scenarios are. It's too much going on right now.
The Bucks have a plus 26 right now. The Heat have a plus 13. Cleveland and Boston are at plus 15 and 14 and 15. Cleveland's at 15. Boston's at 14. So everyone else is in the negative. But I guess, that could all potentially change. A couple of people are hardly in the negative. The Magic just have to continue to put gas on the fire when they're winning and not hold up. And it's funny. You see a little bit of that. You saw a little bit of that when they beat Charlotte in that second group play game. Charlotte kept their starters in, or some of the better players in a little bit longer to try and just continue to score points. So it was interesting to see, but just kind of see the league kind of develop a little bit better of an understanding for the differential aspect of it. Now, do you like the point differential, or do you wish they would have changed that up a little bit?
No, I'm a big point differential guy for sure. I mean, it
makes the games more exciting.
It makes the games exciting even at the end, especially if some games they matter. I think it was the end of the Charlotte game or Philly game. I can't remember which one, where Jet Howard hit a 3 in the last second. Jet Howard 3-pointer could make a difference. That's the fun part. And look, we've got at Charlotte Monday night. We've got back home against the Bulls Wednesday night. Let's say the Magic struggle and just don't play well and lose both those games. The Cup game in Brooklyn Friday is an opportunity to refocus and lock in and say, hey, this isn't just about then ending a short losing streak. This is a chance to go 3-0 in Cup play and basically have one foot in the door to get to Vegas. That's extra focus. That's extra motivation in itself. So, and this team really likes having to thrive off motivation.
Yeah, that's fair. If they win the group and they avoid, if they just straight up win, they're going to Vegas, right?
Well, no, the quarterfinal. We would host a quarterfinal game.
That's right.
We would host the quarterfinals. Remember now, in that second week of December, there's that empty period in the schedule where there's still 2 games in the schedule that we don't know what those 2 games are because we don't know if we're playing in cup-related games or not. And so the quarterfinal games are hosted by the higher seeds, which I'm pretty sure if the Magic win the group, they would probably likely host one of those quarterfinal games. And if you win that quarterfinal game, then you're going to Vegas for a semifinal. If you win the semifinal, then you're playing a game 83 where you're going to be in that final in Vegas.
Right. I was trying to do some math and I was like, I'm glad I'm talking to Adam tonight, because this was literally earlier today. I was talking to I rarely go on Facebook, but when I do, it's typically because when I do go on and I interact on it, it's because I have some notification from some Magic group, and I'm just I was trying to do some pushback on some in-season tournament hate that everyone's just yelling at. It's just a money grab. It's just a money grab. I'm like, it's really not. It's not there is a financial aspect to it.
Everything's a money grab, all right?
But it's not necessarily the money isn't changing crazy. Yes, more eyes on tuning into the league means more money and, more revenue and stuff like that. But at the end of the day, the games aren't really increasing for anyone other than two teams. Two teams,
literally. Yeah.
I just did the math wrong because I also thought the play before the round before also counted. So I thought the people who made it to the finals played 2 extra games, and the people who made it to the corners played 1 extra. So yeah, I got that wrong, but that's okay because it's a Facebook group, and if you're listening to this and you read my comment, we got it sorted out now thanks to Adam. So That's exciting. If the Magic make it to Vegas, are you going?
My gosh.
You know, I'm
That's
putting the
tricky,
pressure
man.
on you.
And I will look into it. That's for certain. I don't know. And it's weird because the semifinal game is a Saturday, and I think the final is the 17th, which is a Wednesday. So that's a weird kind of twist. And that's a pretty long gap there. So
it's a long time to be in Vegas if you've ever been to Vegas.
Yeah, I have. I've been there for a bachelor party, and let me tell you, the sweet spot is 3 nights. Do not go beyond
Sometimes
3 nights. If you can get away with 2, just do 2. But once you get past 3 nights, you can get into some trouble. But not to say that you can't get into some trouble in 1 night, but you can be stuck in some very interesting places in Vegas. But I will look into it. I'm making no promises, but I will care enough to look into it. That's for sure.
For sure, I will absolutely look into it. Money's always a little tighter during the
holidays.
You're
way closer than me, man.
So
You're way closer. You get a bunch of direct flights.
My looking into it means I would just go like there and back in like the same day because it's like an hour to fly there from me. I'd probably get a hotel and have some nights, and if the Magic win, go gamble my life away. I've been side note, I've been getting into a ton of sports gambling this year. Nothing crazy. I put $25 into the Underdog app, and I've just been playing with that up and down, and I'm not making any money. I'm just floating, kind of floating around 500 on it. It's hilarious. But I've been having a lot of fun, putting $2 bets to win $12. It's been a blast. So I've
been using the Hard Rock Sports Bet here in Florida because they have the monopoly on the sports gambling here.
They do. They took
my
over.
My problem is I put too much in future bets. So like I have a pending Franz Wagner Most Improved Player Award one to win like $100, and then I put like a few bucks on the Magic to win their East Group A NBA Cup group, which that's looking interesting right now. And then Franz Wagner for NBA Cup MVP. That's that gets very interesting. So yeah, it's a little fun.
See, I wish I could do things like that, but sports betting is still like pretty illegal in California, other than like player prop. So that's literally, unless I want to use our sponsor Bet Online, or some other third like offshore betting account, any of the US based books I can't use. And I just personally don't like using non-US based books.
Yeah, fair.
Yeah, no disrespect to my sponsor if you were listening to this, the number one world's best sports betting app, Bet Online. But yeah, I just get stuck into these daily prop bets on player props, and those are so much more. I mean, they're fun because I've been like, I have some nights where I'm like, I'm doing great, and some nights like tonight where I don't know, I'll check my phone later where I might have done awful. But yeah, I wish I could tie into like do some more like smash the over on the Magic wins and things like that. So we'll see. Anyways, Adam, if the Magic go to Vegas, we might just be coordinating our trips together in Vegas. Give me a call. We'll figure it out. We might see you there. We'll plan a dinner. We'll plan some drinks and get on a blackjack table afterwards or something.
I'm very good at a blackjack table. I've never lost money at a blackjack table.
I have, but recently I've gotten really into craps. Last time I went to Vegas.
No, I stay away from that.
I had so much fun last time I played. I played like 5 years ago in 2018. I went to Vegas for a bachelor party and played. I couldn't remember it for the life of me. Then I went back to Vegas earlier this year for another bachelor party, and I was on the craps table for like 2 hours. It was pretty awesome. And the table was awful. It wasn't hot. It never got going, but I didn't drink too heavy. I just like tried to learn the game really well that time. So now I want to like try and go do it again. But yeah, maybe I like blackjack just as much. So if you're more of a blackjack guy, we'll get down on some blackjack together.
Fair enough, man.
Right on, Adam. Well, I appreciate you taking the time to jump on. I look forward to hopefully catching you at a game, sometime later this year. I'll definitely hit you up when I'm in town in a few weeks. Let everyone know where they can find you, and obviously plug the show.
Yeah, I mean, it's the Penny and Pops podcast. It's on every audio channel that you can find from a podcasting perspective.
The longest running Orlando Magic podcast, people.
Yeah, since 2009. It's been going on a long time.
You took a little hiatus there.
Yeah, that's why the episode numbers always fool people. It's a lot more episodes. I don't have those old episodes.
Sure.
But and then you can follow me on Twitter at Papageorgiou MBO. I'm also on Blue Sky. Just put my name, Adam Papageorgiou. You'll find me on Blue Sky. So appreciate it.
I'm on Blue Sky too. I actually just signed up earlier this week. I can't remember. Yeah, earlier this week. I got like 30 something followers, but yeah, you guys can find me on there too. Adam, I'll find you. We'll be Blue Sky friends. All right, Magic fans, that's gonna wrap it up today. Go Magic! Beat the who did we play
Hornets
today? Who beat the Hornets today? Thank you. We're recording this on Sunday, so you guys are hearing me talk about this as today on Monday when this is going to be released. Beat the Hornets today, and then back on the road for the Bulls, and back home, and then back for a 3-game road trip where the Magic are going to go to the NBA Cup group play
quarterfinals.
Let's go Magic!